The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
And we are live to tape on the W2M Network for the Wrestling to the Max 205 Live review here for June 26th, 2018. I'm going to try to not have a brain fart like I did during most of SmackDown. I am your host. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Joining me at this time... No, I really don't have a good nickname for you right now, so I'm just not going to waste the time with one. I could sit here and think of one. I could call you the Shooter McGavin to my Happy Gilmore, but I'm pretty sure I've used that already.
I think you have, yeah.
So instead, I'm just going to say he's Brandon Biskobing.
Hello.
Well, hi. How are you?
Good.
Anywho, this is the 205 Live review for June 26th. The debut of the man of the hour, the man with the power, the man who can't keep his ego in check in NXT, so they brought him to the main roster.
He talks crap and gets a promotion.
Part of that may have been editorializing on my part.
Huh?
That being said, you don't make jokes about somebody getting fired if you're an employee of the company. Anywho. So what do you say we get into this week's episode of 205 Live, Brandon?
Let's do it.
Our opening contest, scheduled for one fall, is Akira Tozawa taking on the Buddy Murphy-less Tony Nese. So apparently they're only friends when Buddy needs help, not when Tony does.
Sounds about right.
Well, that's not nice. Tony should really look for better friends.
Well, I mean, it's Buddy Murphy. What do you expect? And yes,
Drew
I agree
Gulak?
with you.
Drew Gulak was his friend, and they used to accompany each other out all the time. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because they seem to be closer friends. It just seems like Buddy was using Nese to get what he wanted.
The match itself goes 7 minutes and 40 seconds, and Akira Tozawa delivers his tribute to Dick Togo, Senton Bomb, for the finish at 7 minutes and 40 seconds, as mentioned here. Pretty solid little back-and-forth contest here. Nothing that'll stand out in your memory a week later, but nothing that was actively bad while it was happening either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these two are good workers. I hope that both of them get some sort of push in the near future, because they're both kind of stagnant. Nese is on TV a little more than Tozawa, but both of them not really getting much in the way of anything of substance.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Tozawa's gotten more of the marquee matchups on 205, but he's been losing most of those marquee matchups, whereas Tony Nese is lucky to make 205 Live on a weekly basis ever since the Zo Train breakup.
But even then, I mean, with the exception of when he was with the Tommy, Tozawa hasn't really done much either.
Well, yeah, after the breakup and the loss to Tommy in the singles contest, Tozawa has been persona non grata as well.
Exactly.
Speaking of Hideo Itami, segue to his highlights of his victory in the triple threat match last week in the main event. This leads to us going backstage and seeing Cedric Alexander asking Drake Maverick when his next title defense is. Cedric tells Maverick that it should be Itami, but Maverick doesn't want to reward bad behavior. Cedric responds to that he's trying to build his legacy, and in order to do that, he needs to beat Itami because Itami is a legend in cruiserweight, this style of wrestling. Maverick says he'll take it under consideration. A little bit later on in the show, these two run into each other backstage, and a slap fight commences that is very quickly broken up by referees and Maverick. And basically, Cedric once again calls him out, saying that he wants the match. Any thoughts here?
I have a feeling we're going to get the match, for one. And for two, I don't know if this is because of Triple H's writing, and in spite of the fact that we have not seen him on this particular show in a few weeks, the two best GMs in WWE currently, I would have to say, are Drake Maverick and William Regal.
Well, Regal just returned at this most recent set of tapings. He's been out sick.
Yes.
Which is kind of the reason we're doing this show on a delay, because I was out.
Yes.
I have something in common with William Regal. I'll take that while it lasts. Anyways, back ringside for our next contest, which is not yet scheduled for one fall, but you know what it is scheduled for?
What?
Topanga.
Okay.
Really? No?
What?
No Topanga?
No.
How dare you, you rat bastard! I sincerely question your taste in women if you don't find Topanga attractive. That was like every guy's crush back in the... Well, you're younger than I am, so maybe you didn't grow up on Boy Meets World.
Exactly. I didn't really watch Boy Meets World at all.
You heathen! You have Hulu, don't you?
Yes.
It's on Hulu. Go watch!
Okay.
Feel better. The reason that Topanga...
That's like me saying that it's blasphemy that you've never watched Star Wars, so there.
Yeah, but Topanga's actually attractive. There's no real female reason to watch Star Wars.
Fair enough.
Anyway, the reason that Topanga is at ringside is because she is a very well-known fan of the man making his debut tonight in our next contest scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
With Topanga. As the man of the hour, Lio Rush takes on, I forget what gimmick name they use. He uses the name something along the lines of Fidel Bravo on the independent circuit out there. I do not remember the name that he used for tonight's 205. It really, really, really doesn't matter.
Nope.
Because he gets exactly 0 offense in.
Squash.
My favorite vegetable. As Lio Rush gets the pinfall victory with the Frog Splash. They gave it a name. I did not catch the name that Vic Joseph gave it. I'm going to have to look that up. At 1 minute and 50 seconds. There is a post-match promo for Lio Rush as well, where he talks about being the future of the division and that 205 Live is now Rush Hour. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And I thought my puns were bad. Even the dog thinks that's ridiculous. Your thoughts on Lio Rush's debut and then his promo afterwards?
I mean, his one.
Man, it's a good thing I'm not the only one having issues tonight. A little bit of a technical snafu there. Apologies for that, everybody. But we're back live with you. We should be good. Everything should be edited together nice and neatly. Brandon, you were going to give your thoughts on Lio Rush's debut match and promo afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, the match wasn't really anything crazy. You know, it was your prototypical squash match. But the promo, I liked his promo a lot. And I kind of mentioned this to Tori when it happened because she liked the promo a lot as well. And she said she's going to be a big Lio Rush fan moving forward. But I described him a lot like AJ Styles, where he came in with all of this hype over his in-ring work, but no one really said much about his promo work. But now in the WWE, he's finding his groove on the mic, and I feel like he's going to become a much more well-rounded individual, and he's going to have a good bit of success in 205.
Rush Hour is the Frog Splash.
Yes.
Or the final hour, excuse me. He has a move called Rush Hour as well that's a sidewalk slam variation. But the split leg frog splash is called the final hour.
Yeah.
So there you go. Oh, that's interesting. Standing moonsault side slam, C4. Paul Burton's old finish.
Huh.
Spanish fly, as it might be more commonly known.
Yes. AKA what almost destroyed Will Ospreay's neck.
Tuck your head. That's all I'm saying. We announced the main event for next week's episode of 205 Live as Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy will go at it in a no disqualification match. I think they get a little bit more leeway on 205 with these kinds of stipulated matches here, so I'm actually really intrigued to see what Mustafa and Buddy can put together. They had a 4-star match at least a couple of weeks ago here, so you give them the opportunity to take it all around the building and use whatever they want to at their discretion. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it seems like for whatever reason, if it's, Triple H more willing to toe that line than Vince and the main roster is, or what it is, but yeah, the stipulation matches definitely get a lot better in NXT and 205 than they do on the main roster. It seems very bland and very, cookie cutter on the main roster now. We saw it like War Games, that match was, off the charts,
Including the gash that Killian got down his
exactly. Back. While that wasn't planned, he bled the hard way, it was still something that, will always be ingrained in everyone's mind.
And not to mention, in order to live up to the War Games legacy there, a little bloodshed's probably not the worst thing.
Of course. But yeah, so especially considering they're given more leeway, this should be a very fun match to watch next week.
All right, coming back to in-ring action, our main event scheduled for 5 falls.
5 falls.
Very weird, isn't it?
Yes.
Your voice cracked when you did that.
I know, because I was trying not to laugh, but...
In fairness, I think mine did as well, so we're even.
I did it, I did it during the Gauntlet match a couple of weeks ago on Raw, and Liz kind of laughed at it too, so...
It is 6-man tag team action as the Lucha House Party takes on Team British and Badass. Drew Gulak, Jack Gallagher, and Brian Kendrick. Do you want to run down the falls real quick, and then we'll talk about the match in general?
Yeah.
All right. Gallagher absolutely splits Metallic's wig with a headbutt at 1:48.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how he doesn't hurt himself delivering those headbutts.
I think he's kind of putting his hand... I could be wrong, but I think he's kind of putting his hand in front of it and hitting his hand.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, the force he's not delivering it to the head, obviously. He's delivering the headbutt to the shoulder, which is a little bit easier, I would assume, because the clavicle compared to the forehead, the skull, there's probably a noticeable bone density difference there.
Mm-hmm.
But still, as I've said many times before when I'm doing commentary, nobody wins on a headbutt.
No.
Anyway, Brian Kendrick then gets bounced by Lince Dorado with the Golden Rewind at 7:10. Kendrick sneaks back in and takes out Kalisto, and a distracted Dorado is tapped out by Drew Gulak with the Gulak at 10 minutes and 25 seconds. Kalisto uses Gulak as a springboard to hit Salida del Sol on Gallagher for the elimination at 14:10. And then in the finale, yet again, Gulak is taking names, kicking asses, and ripping off masks at 17:05 as he tears off Kalisto's mask and puts him in the Gulak to win the match for British and Badass. All right, so a couple of things to talk about with this match here. First of all, I want to get your thoughts, and then I'll give my thoughts as well, because I have 2 different things that I want to touch on for this match here, and I'll touch on both of them individually after you go.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the match itself was great. The elimination format allowed for a lot more action and to see everyone get some work in. I absolutely love it. I've talked about it before. But, 2 things that you see a lot in the indies and like in New Japan and Ring of Honor. Not so much Ring of Honor because they don't really have many luchadors over there. But, especially in New Japan that you see a lot that really makes sense, especially considering the whole gimmick that British, what do you call them again?
British and badass.
British and badass. That's what I thought you called them. Especially considering the whole gimmick that British and badass have, of hating high flyers, hating luchadors, hating masks, hating that whole entire style. Them going after the symbol of the luchador it just makes sense. I think Nigel even mentioned this during the match. He was like, having such a target, and if you do get ripped off, you have to, because of the luchador ethos, they have to cover up their face and everything. It's such a distraction that it really gives the heels such an advantage. I like the fact that they're actually doing things like that in WWE now instead of completely ignoring it. So, that whole thing I liked a lot. And just the whole match in general was good, and I liked how British and Badass got the win. Because right. I want them to get a push.
All right, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about here is the Dorado unmasking, because I'm not entirely sure that was intentional. Just because of the way that they kind of stalled for time for Lince to get his mask back on, that you'll notice that once the mask came off, Gulak did not attack him.
I didn't fully notice that, but
I do not think Lince's mask coming off was intentional. That being said, they played it into the match perfectly by having Gulak have the response that he did. Oh no, he lost his face!
Yeah. Well, but see, that's the thing, something like that, see, if it was another match, like, with more of a face type of character, it wouldn't have worked as well, but because it was against these guys, even if it was unintentional, it worked perfectly.
And then it definitely tied back into the finish of the match as well, with Gulak ripping off the mask of Kalisto before putting in the Gulak. Because A, you protect the guy by keeping his face hidden in the submission hold. B, you give the visual of you tearing the mask off and saying you and your traditions. C, Gulak gets to stand tall, having taken off 2 different masks in this match, and the only person whose mask he didn't take off, Gallagher, put him down with a headbutt inside of the opening 2 minutes, so Gulak didn't have an opportunity to take the mask.
I wonder, and just assuming that what you're saying is correct, that the original one with Dorado was unintentional. I wonder if that him taking off Kalisto's mask was an audible that they made, saying, hey, let's play off of this.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was improvisation on the part of Kalisto and Gulak. Not to mention, he kept it completely hidden during the course of the submission move because he's trapped underneath Gulak's arm, so it's not like anybody could see his face there.
Exactly.
As soon as he released the hold, you see Kalisto immediately go into the tuck position. I'm actually demonstrating this on an audio podcast. I have no idea why. But you see Kalisto go into a tuck position in order to keep his face hidden even after the move.
He needs those young lions to protect him.
You also immediately see Kalisto and Dorado and Metalik run into the ring and cover him up with a towel as well.
That's true.
Let's talk about what happens post-match, too. Because Penelope gets it.
I don't remember seeing this.
He took out the piñata.
Oh, right.
Penelope gets it.
Yes.
And good riddance to that horrible mockery of Gulak. Not today, luchadors.
And that very stereotypical thing.
No Aki, luchadors. No Aki.
But yeah, I mean, this whole match was, very much played off of that,
I think... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think they've had better matches against each other, but there was definitely more emotion in this match than in any of their previous contests. Like, they were actually fighting like this was going to be the end of their rivalry.
Which I would assume it is, because, an elimination tag match, you can't really go much further than that.
I think we could see this segue into singles feuds for Gulak, especially with Kalisto and Dorado, since he took their masks off.
Oh, yes, that definitely. But I think as a semi-faction versus faction match, I think this is over. It may go into one-on-one matches between the 6 of them, but as a faction warfare, it is over. But this was a good way of not only, giving Gulak and Gallagher and Kendrick some momentum. It also helps to solidify that their standing as, Gulak has been talking about building a better 205 Live for, almost a year now. And this is really the way that he wants to do it, of, I'm going to destroy the luchador culture. And that should be his next feud moving forward, is against all 3 of them individually, of, I'm going to humiliate you. Maybe even potentially have some, I forget exactly how you pronounce it, but Lucha de
Apuesta.
Yeah, Apuesta, there we go. Some of those matches... What?
Lucha de Apuesta.
Yes. Have some of those matches on 205.
I think those would work, but I think he would have to win one of them, and I'm not sure that's a concept the WWE is okay with at this point. Because I think that the WWE actually does pretty decent merch sales with regards to the luchador masks, and that's not something that they're going to want to sacrifice for the Gulak character. Now, I completely agree that this should lead to him wanting to take out each of the 3 luchadors individually in order to establish himself as the guy that's going to set us on a pace to a better 205 Live and eventually put himself into the title picture. I don't think Gulak's in the title picture yet, but I think he could be soon with something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Just have him go on a one-man rampage to get rid of everything that he feels is devaluing 205 Live, to bring it up to the show that he feels it should be, or as he originally put it in his first PowerPoint presentation, his Drewtopian vision of 205 Live. I mean, this is a guy who made CZW a better place as well, so... If he can make it work for CZW, I'm sure he can make it work for 205.
By making it exactly the opposite of what it was supposed to be.
Man, Gulak was gold in CZW. I don't care what anyone
I need to go find those now, because...
I freaking loved that gimmick.
Because that just sounds hilarious. You know what it actually reminds me a lot of?
The Right to Censor?
No, well, that too. But... Cactus Jack, his second...
the anti-heart stuff.
Yeah.
Similar tone in regards to the promos, not the same style of in-ring work, though.
Mm.
Like, Foley would intentionally, slap on headlocks and chin locks and stuff. Gulak would still work. But he wouldn't work the style of matches that CCW fans wanted. He would work the style of matches that CCW fans needed.
He would work more of an athletic, high-flying type style.
The Ring of Honor style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is ironic that he worked that style back then, and now he's working the exact opposite style in WWE.
Yeah, well, flip-a-doo's got a flip-a-doo. What can I say? I feel like 205 Live went a whole lot better than SmackDown did this week.
Yeah, it did.
Both in terms of the television show itself, as well as in terms of the actual recording here. Yep. What do you say we slap some ratings and some reviews onto this?
Yep.
Scale of 1 to 10, Brandon.
I'll give it a 7.5. The opening match, it was a good match, but I'm just hoping that it'll be good. It'll propel them forward, and hopefully they'll get a little more work in. The Lio Rush stuff, the match, it was a squash match. It's not really anything to write home about, but, the promo work was great. And then the main event was great, and a great way to end this feud, and maybe, move them all forward in some way.
I'm going to go with a 7. Not quite 7.5, but I'm going to go with a 7. I really enjoyed the opening contest between Akira Tozawa and Tony Nese. Granted, in the grand scheme of things, the only thing it really does is give a rehabilitational win to Tozawa. Mm-hmm. But I think Tozawa needs that because he's one of those guys that can constantly stay on the periphery of the main event as a former cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, that's true.
The Lio Rush segment was exactly what Lio Rush's debut needed to be. Him getting in there, him getting his stuff in, and him getting out. Absolutely no reason to waste time with him on some second-rate nobody that nobody's ever heard of before and nobody's going to hear from again. And I do not say that as an intended offense to whoever the guy was. I think, like I said earlier, his name on the independent circuit is Fidel Bravo, if you want to look him up. I say that in regards to the WWE character portrayal of Lio Rush. If you're going to have Lio Rush as this cocky badass, you cannot have him losing a match or having any kind of issues in a match like this, much the same way that MVP, when he made his debut, dominated a jobber in a similar sense with a guy named Marty Gardner back at a No Mercy pay-per-view in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
I do not, but...
All right, well, yeah, so the main event was good, not great, but good, and it told an excellent story, so I'm willing to give it more credit than I would under normal match obligations.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're just looking at the match itself, it wasn't, a 5-star match or anything, but the storytelling within the match was
fantastic.
Yes.
And especially especially to me, it made even better if Lince Dorado's mask coming off was accidental, and then they called the audible on the fly to do the Kalisto finish.
Yeah. They did. Oh, definitely. Which I could totally see them doing.
If that was done on the fly, bravo to Kalisto and Gulak.
Yes.
So I'm going to give this show a 7. One-word review, Brandon. I can go first if you're waiting.
Go first.
Momentum.
Okay.
And by that, I mean that this brand keeps building up this steam, keeps building up this hype around it, keeps building up this vibe to it that makes it must-see television on a week-in, week-out basis. There's not always a great match, but there's usually a very good one. And in this instance, even though we didn't get any great matches, we had awesome storytelling in the terms of Lio Rush's debut and in terms of a 6-man tag team elimination main event.
I'll use storytelling as my one word. It's, when, on other 205, we've talked about the great in-ring work, the 5-star matches that you see on 205. This week, like you said, it wasn't that so much, but you got what they're doing and what I really appreciate about 205 and NXT to an extent, but 205 is the main one that does this. This isn't your normal WWE, most of the storytelling is done through promos and done through, outside things, outside of the ring. This is very much an indie, New Japan, Ring of Honor type feel of we are going to tell the stories primarily through the in-ring action.
Yeah, it works out the best for everybody involved too, because we haven't really established personalities for a lot of the athletes on the 205 roster, and what personalities we have established can generally do the storytelling that they need to do inside of the ring.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what's great about a match like Lucha House Party versus Team Badass is British Badass. Is that you're getting that story of the high flyers against the more grounded guys, and you're getting that story of the luchadors against the very anti-luchador guys, and you can do all of that storytelling without really them saying anything. You can all just do it in the ring.
And that's going to officially wrap us up for 205 Live for June 26, 2018. Let's hit the plugs, Brandon. What do you got?
Later tonight, Thursday, June 28th, we're going to have the final episode before preseason starts and whatnot, probably until the season starts, honestly, of Fantasy Football to the Max, and this week it'll be a collaboration with the Kickoff, a 2-round, 12-team rookie mock draft, going through all the top rookies in fantasy. Then we've got NXT tonight as well. And then coming soon will be How the War Was Won, about the Monday Night Wars. Harry's getting there slowly but surely.
As previously mentioned on the SmackDown Live review, I am up to January 10th, 1995's edition of ECW Television. That puts me approximately 6 months from the first WWF or WCW pay-per-view in July of 1995, which is How the War Was Won would start. In addition, you can listen to myself, Tony Acero, and Andrew Ballas on the Raw Reaction every Monday night on the Chairshot Radio Network at 11:30 p.m. live after Raw. Brandon, we actually had a very interesting guest this week on the Raw Reaction.
You told me about it, but I forget who it was.
Wrestles under the name Ruben Iglesias traditionally. On Monday Night Raw this week, however, he was Rex Gibson, one half of the guys that were squashed by the Authors of Pain.
Huh.
We talk about what his experience was like working with Occam and Razor, what it was like being backstage at a WWE event, how he got the opportunity in the first place, and the details of living out a childhood dream of performing on Monday Night Raw. That is on this week's episode of the Raw Reaction over on the Chairshot Radio Network.
Very cool.
Brandon usually has the Raw review. Unfortunately, circumstances dictated that they're going to take this week off. They should be back next week, I believe.
Yep.
Maybe. I'm not sure if
Probably.
I'm not sure if Liz is leaving on Monday or Tuesday for her vacation.
Oh, right.
So you might have to talk to Liz about that.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is if you need somebody to fill in, I guess I could come over and help you do it after I do the reaction.
Do double duty.
It's not like I haven't pulled the double before, Brandon.
True. Very true.
In addition, you can listen to these podcasts on many of the same places you listen to all of your Wrestling to the Max W2M Network podcasts. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbean, CastBox. Hey, Brandon, guess what?
Glacier's coming soon? Oh, I mean Spotify?
Don't give me a chance to ask you. You ruined the bit. Allegedly coming soon to Spotify. Allegedly. We'll see. And available online at W2Mnet.com. He's Brandon Biskobing. I'm Harry Broadhurst. Thanks for listening to 205 Live. We'll catch you guys next week for more. NXT's coming at you later today. Have a good week, everybody.